Seed Hollow is burning. Another victim in Avia's desperate mission to return to the stars. This all started because I brought Lyria to Zega Grande. And now our battle is intertwined with the fate of the Sky Realm itself. We need to get to the heart of the city and fix the damage that's been done.
Whoa! Is this even the same city?
No time to assess casualties, I'm afraid. Not when we know Avia will make a beeline for the castle.
I suspect we'll face a tough road ahead. Everyone, prepare yourselves accordingly.
Seems useful.
Welcome. Come again.
Skyfarer! Over here! There you are! I'm so glad you're all safe!
Thanks for the assistance.
I would never abandon one of Zega Grande's most vital trading hubs. It's not in my nature to watch a crisis unfold from the sidelines. By the way, Captain, I don't know if you've heard, but the castle is under attack by the Church of Avia. That forced each of the city's wards to declare temporary lockdowns. I'll be around until the brouhaha settles down. Give me a holler if you need anything. We can't let Avia get away with all they've done. Take this and go show them who's boss.
Yeah.
Oh, Father, which crew member would you like to call? Did you miss us, Captain? The butterfly alights. And just in time. One Skyfarer's trash, when we have a wide selection of sigils. You focus on Avia. I'll take care of these. Need something?
Rackham, there you are. I've got huge news. Listen to this.
It was clear from Kent's smile that the repairs on the Nautilus were going smoothly, thanks to a mechanic friend of his. Well, ain't that something? I'd be lying if I said I wasn't impressed. Those parts weren't the easiest to work with. Not bad, Miss Mechanic.
Rackham, sir? My friend told me she got the parts from a traveling Skyfarer. That 3-day-old scruff and a little swagger to him. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
Huh. Well, I keep my scruff in an elegant chin strap. Thank you very much. Not sure I sounded very convincing, trying to play off his answer, but I'm a helmsman, not an actor. Ha! But just another performance or two, and the Nautilus would be skybound once more.
Just as we arrived at the cemetery, the clouds opened up, unleashing a torrent of rain. The blue sky was gone, painted over by a steely, unforgiving gray. Looking around, I saw that there were others paying their respects at different plots. Like Karzeda, they probably lost loved ones to the storm. As soon as he laid eyes on the mound of earth in front of him, the dam broke. Karzeda's shoulders heaved with his sobs.
Why did I say those awful things? There were so many more important things I wanted to tell you, but
He sank to his knees, crippled with grief, His fist beat at the earth, sending drops of muddy water splashing onto his face.
I didn't want that to be our last conversation. If I hadn't blown up, if we hadn't fought, I only wanted to see you smile, but I made you cry.
All I could do was watch over Karzeda as he poured out the feelings he'd held back for so long. Let it out, son. It's the only way to get through it. After the visit, we made our way to a tavern. We could hear the rain beating down on the establishment. It was still day, but the sky was dark as night. Karzeda ordered the stiffest drink they had and downed it in one gulp.
My friend once showed me a flower and said that each one symbolizes something. At the time, I didn't get it, and I had other things in my mind, so I never bothered looking it up.
He shook his head, saying that he'd wished he had treasured those small, everyday moments with her. Each word struck me like a blow, reminding me of my own failures.
How am I supposed to live with this regret? It's like the storm outside, pounding on me until I give in and let it sweep me away.
I mulled over his question for a while before opening my mouth. I'm not the right person to answer that. Only your friend knows.
But how? She's...
So I told Karzeda about my wife, and about the agony of losing her. All the things I'd hoped for, things we could do as a family, were no longer possible. The chasm of remorse threatened to swallow me whole. I couldn't imagine things getting better. Not then, not ever. But I was still alive. Unlike my wife, I still had a future. Didn't that obligate me to move forward, to find meaning in being left behind, and try to fulfill what she wanted for me? Didn't that apply to Karzeda? You want me to go with you? To find that flower, I mean? Maybe finding it would give him the answers he needed.
I trusted only my fists. If you wish to reach transcendence, you must beat out the path with your own knuckles. Which is why when my fists began to tremble in anticipation, I listened. It was as if they whispered, "A terrible future awaits these skies. Fail to act, an unprecedented calamity will befall you." How could they know? In truth, they knew more than most scholars, having experienced the rigors of fundamental aesthetic practice. I tempered them relentlessly, so they could foretell which timeline would lead them to the most strength. But you may ask, how far can one go with omnipotent fists? A foolish question. Only cowards measure progress in distance, in achievement. Blood boils through these fingers. That is all I need to know. Ah, I feel the fire raging inside. The storm has arrived, and I shall catch it with my bare hands. Divinity above, I wish you no ill will, but your defeat shall be evidence of my life's work. Vow recited, I ended the evening's meditation. Decades of such ascetic training had finally borne fruit. I had honed the eternal raid style to a godlike edge. But The long years had also revealed to me an enemy I could never defeat. Time itself. My inevitable demise meant there would be no more eternal rage style. I would need a disciple, someone worthy of inheriting my technique. Of course, coal is not transformed into diamond so easily. It would be a fool's errand to find a successor who could survive the necessary time and rigor. Thus, when I finally met the captain, I was happy to be that fool. Now I could pass on my legacy. But the captain had another goal in mind, to reach Estalucia and reunite with dear old Papa. Filial piety was a respectable tenet, but it was no god-shattering fist. Despite my pleas, I failed to convince the captain to become my pupil. However, something must have resonated with the young master, because I received an invitation to join the Grand Cypher's crew. If I could not produce a scion of eternal rage, at least I would gain new allies. Walking aboard the airship, my fists buzzed. Ah, so there would be something more to this meeting after all. Worthy Captain, I choose to fight by your side for the glory of the crew, for the glory of reaching Estalucia. And after we return, we shall discuss your future with the Eternal Rage style in earnest.
You heard all the stories about the old man, right?
I could hardly believe my ears. Ripping the Grim Basin apart with a single punch? Joining a war just so he could spar? And defeating both sides? Knocking over a whole mountain just from turning in his sleep? I call BS. And just like crap, there was probably a kernel of truth in there somewhere, but come on, who believes this stuff? Turns out, idiots like me. See, I've actually witnessed Gondagoza smash a meteor into space dust. You think people will catch on to that story, too?
Of course they will. Why else do people go to the pub? Man's favorite pastime is recounting tales of people braver than themselves.
But it's so hard to believe, and I saw him do the damn thing. So, yep, though the old master's legends were numerous, and honestly downright ridiculous, they were also the truth. What's crazier, Gonda would never toot his own horn. After crushing a dragon with a sneeze or what have you, he'd just say, Yep, actions speak louder than words. That's a real man's man for you. You gotta admire that. What I would give for his rippling biceps, though. Looking back now, none of us could have known. There, in the Zeka Grande Skydom, Gondagoza was about to use those rippling biceps to start a whole brand new mythos.
Sierra gave us the news. A lone brawler managed to stop a force of hundreds atop Mount Nagelith, all while quelling a raging blizzard with his bare hands? I'm not a betting man. Well, I'm not a drinking man. I'm not a man who bets when he drinks. But I'd put good money on our brawler being Gondagoza. It hadn't been that long since we sailed to Zeka Grande, so the old badger must have been working overtime for word to spread so quick. I asked Sierra to spill the details. The force he scattered was a group of soldiers, remnants of the Church of Avia, and word was they were specialists in guerrilla warfare. Sure as hell they were a fierce troop. How does an unarmed martial artist take them all out? Not that I could ask the master. 'cause you know what he'd say. But hey, who needs words when you got those defined shoulder blades doing the talking? Guess it was just one more legend for the books.
I'm from Tremont Island, a quiet little place where I lived with my parents and sister. Things were good, except my sister was suffering from a terrible condition. We couldn't treat her on Tremont, so she was forced to travel to another island, all on her own. Back then, skyfaring wasn't nearly the safe bet that it is today, so I wasn't sure if she'd even make it there, let alone receive treatment. I loved my sister more than anything, so waving bye to her as she took off toward an unknown future was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I hoped beyond all hope. I hoped till it hurt, that her cure would be swift, and she'd sail back to me with each setting sun. But the days, they grew into months. Sometime after she left, a brutal pandemic spread across Tremont, crippling our population in a matter of days. I was shocked, watching the good people I'd known all my life pass away. But I was horrified when it claimed my parents. And when it came for me, I knew death was waiting at the front door. What can I do? I thought, lungs heavy and weighing me to my bed. What could I do but turn to the skies and pray? Please, if you're listening, I want to hear my family. I want to hear their voices again. My pleas were answered, but not by salvation. No, it was Celeste, the primal beast of death, who descended from the heavens. She stole death from the suffering islanders, preventing them from slipping into the afterlife. They became zombies, sentient and rotting. Unlike the others, my corporeal form faded away, leaving my spirit to haunt the land. This, at least, gave me a faint hope. If I was given an unlife, then perhaps my mother and father would be given the same gift. But the months, they grew into years. And it became clear that though Celeste held dominion over death, life was a more complicated matter. It was my wish that had brought unlife to Tremont. I was to blame for turning my hometown into a living cemetery. If the villagers knew what I had done, well, that's why I chose to haunt the manor on the outskirts of town. Alone in those halls, with no one to talk to, I counted the days until I lost track of time. Solitude was better than guilt. Isolation was better than hearing my name used as a curse. But with time, the silence ate away at my name, until even I forgot who I was. It's true that there weren't people around the manor, but I did discover a few ghost animals floating about. They took a liking to me, probably because of our shared ghosthood, and I gave them cute names to show my affection. Beppo, Gigi, Fuji, and Nicola. Before I knew it, my lonesome days became a little less gray, if not less repetitive. I watched so many tomorrows and yesterdays pass me by. I felt as stale and constant as the mists that covered the island. That all changed when the crew came to my manor. They were a cheerful, lively group, but also straightforward and intimidating. It had been so long since I needed to interact with other people. I knew that if I made contact, I would have to acknowledge the real depth of my loneliness. So I ran, and they gave chase. So I ran again, and they followed once more. No matter where I fled, they found me, undeterred by my spectral form or my ghostly pets. Finally, I decided to ask them about their situation. Thanks to the mists, they explained, their airship was grounded on Tremont. Like me, like the other islanders. We were all prisoners of Celeste. So long as she still had a pact with the island, there would be no refuge from her fog. But, by the same token, her powers preserved the unlives of Tremont's people, myself included. If Celeste was brought down, we would fade with her. It troubled me, but I knew it was a necessary course of action. I had only one thing to accomplish before confronting the primal beast of death. I needed to come clean to the islanders. It was time to make amends. Had it not been for the arrival of the captain and the crew, I would never have found the strength to make that decision. I marched straight to the village, took a deep breath, and explained to the people how I doomed everyone. But to my surprise, they looked upon me with sympathy and warmth. With the understanding and support of the islanders, I called Celeste once again. But she didn't appear, and the mist still covered the island. That's how I learned the truth. It wasn't only me who had crossed Celeste's fate with our own. The other culprit was the doctor who was traveling through our village, back when the pandemic first appeared. He was secretly conducting research to summon Celeste. We hurried to the place where he resided, but when we arrived, we found that his consciousness had already been swallowed by the primal beast of death, and he couldn't cough up any helpful information. Despite the setback, I joined with the crew and the islanders to find and defeat Celeste. The mists parted, and the island returned to its former state. Its residents began to pass into the great beyond, disappearing into light. Before long, everyone I'd known had been lifted into the bright sky, leaving behind only their memories. I closed my eyes and waited for my final moments. But no matter how long I waited, I never began to fade. Left behind, yet again. I stared out at the village, devoid of residents. I was alone, but I could accept that. At any rate, the nameless ghost was no more, because a strange man gave me an oddly familiar name. So long as I had that name, and my memories with the crew, I could wait decades, maybe even centuries, for my sister to return. I think the captain, however, couldn't bear leaving me to such a hollow fate, and invited me to the crew. But how could I leave the island? I knew that my little sister would come back to me. Even though we were no more than graves and warm thoughts, this is where her family was laid to rest. If she came back and no one was waiting, wouldn't she be sad? That's why I knew I had to stay. But the captain wouldn't hear of it. If I was worried about my sister, I should go look for her. It was a new chance. I had never been off my island. I had never even considered the option. But I knew I could. I just needed to find the courage. And that's how I set out on a journey with the crew. Somewhere, out there in that big blue sky, my sister is waiting for me. One day, I was out shopping in Seed Hollow Central Plaza when I saw a woman with kind eyes sitting on a bench. She was absorbed in her needlepoint. Your embroidery is beautiful.
Oh, aren't you a dear? Thank you.
Her smile was genuine and cozy, just like the blanket she was working on. She told me it was a present for her beloved. I've never seen anyone so outside before. She giggled. Really? I'm hoping some of this cheerful sunlight works its way into the fiber. Her name was Malfira, and she invited me to have a seat beside her. Admittedly, the weather was beautiful, the kind that made you appreciate being alive. Or, well, unalive. There was a long, thin trail of white dividing the sky, the aftermath of an unfortunate cloud that had been pierced by a wayfaring airship. How fragile those clouds. How fragile our journeys. I glanced back at Malfira, who looked to be making diligent progress. A familiar memory crept to mind, of a time when I begged my mother to sew new stuffed animals for me and my sister. The nostalgia was comfortable, welcomed even, but I was brought back to the present when I heard a troubled sigh from beside me. Is something wrong? Such a forlorn expression didn't match Malfira's cheerful disposition.
Oh, sorry to worry you. It's nothing I would bother a stranger over.
Malfira forced a grin and stretched the throw across her lap.
It's just, I had hoped to use warming thread on this little project.
What kind of thread? I didn't even know there were different types of thread. But according to Malfira, there was a type of insect native to Fondom whose silk was imbued with magic. Items made from this silk were said to retain a comfortable warmth all year round.
If only I could get to Fondom on my own. And then there's the matter of tracking the insect.
Her smile never quavered, but the way her eyebrows stitched together, ever so slightly, covertly signaled her true disappointment. I could do it for you! I know I look young, but I'm a veteran Skyfarer! I put my hands on my hips and puffed out my chest, a posture I hoped would inspire confidence.
Oh, that's sweet. But it was just a silly thought. My fault for having unrealistic expectations, really.
From her tone alone, I could tell the pose did not, in fact, inspire confidence. Later, after a quick discussion with the captain, we decided to head to Fondom anyway. I needed Malfira to finish her blanket. I just didn't understand why yet. Everyone, to the fight! According to Sierra, the insect in question nests atop the local wildlife, but there's a rumor a vicious monster also makes its home here. Stay on your toes. Those look like fire spirits.
We better get them before they get us!
Our hot Skybreaker! Bring the flood!
You have my blade!
Let us seek out worthy foes!
You're voracious.
Don't think so!
Ugh, it's so hot! I feel like my sweat is sweating! Why are we going through the trouble again?
Sorry. I just wanted to put a smile on Malfira's face. She looked so... I don't know. Forlorn?
But it was your first time meeting her, wasn't it? Who's she to you?
I know it's a weird connection, but her name, it sounded like my sister's.
I hear your call.
Now that's stage presence.
Solid presence is a must when fighting.
Looks like someone wants to fight. Let's teach them not to butt in. Hats off to you, Io. Let me do what I can! Fuji, Nicola! Ready to go!
Into the fray! Well done, Fairy.
You were amazing as well, Catalina. Nice try!
Descend! Miss the Falcon!
More wyverns. Momo, you bring up the rear. Don't think so. Play dead.
Enchanted lands!
Next time I'll pull out the big guns.
Looking forward to it.
Break the storm!
Out of practice?
Take this!
It's all right, Nicola. I'll protect you from the mean monsters.
Finish! Get behind my shield! Winter
Don't think
Strain!
so. I can work with this.
There! Roger!
Come at me! We'll never back down.
Right. I won't lose focus.
Focus up, Leo! Crush 'em!
You're mine!
Beppo! Down, boys! You can't play so close to the magma. What if you fall in?
We'll conclude this.
The cloud breaks the
Get
storm!
them!
Understood.
Now that's stage presence.
Solid presence is a must when fighting.
Huh? What's that?
Vern! Look out! It's a monster in disguise! You must be that vicious monster we heard about. If you thought you could get a leg up on us, you have another thing coming. Now, get whipped! Did he have it? Leave it to me!
Descend! Miss the Falcon!
It's go time!
Leave it to
Cut
me!
them down!
That went well.
Indeed. Let's keep it up.
Heard the voice of my pit!
There's your thing.
Time is right. Time's up.
Nice try.
On guard.
Stay sharp. Let me rip.
No escape.
Our hot Skybreaker!
Sick 'em.
Roger.
Let's get it started. Let's go. Out of practice.
The clouds break
Want
the
a
storm!
treat?
Lightfall.
There's your thing. Go back to whence you came. Ain't right? Requiesca. Thunder goes up.
Yes, ma'am! Blazing fist of the Red Lotus! Up and
To
down!
arms. Blaze the thrust.
Don't think so.
Io.
I'm on it!
Tiger's Blood. Ascension.
There's more where that came from.
Fist
Do it again.
to not
Stay vigilant.
I'll find a safe spot and support from afar. Here's the fight. Lights out. Nice! Another one of the bug. Now we can find that bug in peace. So guys, ready for treats? Is this what you were looking for? I proudly displayed the hard-won thread to a surprised and overjoyed Malfira.
My word, you really are a Skyfarer, aren't you?
She took the spool for a closer look.
Yes, this is the genuine article. I can't accept this for free. Let me see what money I have on me.
From her purse, she pulled a single, unfamiliar coin. I knew from its extravagant design that it wasn't in circulation anywhere near Seed Hollow, but it looked valuable all the same. I refused the gesture. Retrieving the thread was my decision. I wanted to see that blanket finished. A reward was never part of the equation. Malfira's grin bloomed into a full belly laugh. She told me I was a strange girl. Laughing with her, I replied that I had met stranger.
Need something?
I come from a long lineage of proud warriors. We had a great number of visitors at our dojo, many of them masters of their respective disciplines. At some point, I picked up a blade of my own and began to mimic their movements. Back then, I enjoyed the training for what it was, valuing the journey over the destination. That is, until I met him, the supreme swordsmaster of the Eternals, Eata, once known as the demon Zamba. With a single glance, he identified all of my weaknesses. Then, with a few words, he taught me to overcome them. His strength was beyond captivating. I even eavesdropped on a conversation between him and my father, and discovered we were distant relatives. I was elated. For some time, he continued to train at our family dojo. I took every opportunity I could to learn from him, following him wherever he went. I ate whenever he ate. I committed all his mannerisms to memory. However, with the exception of our first encounter, he never acknowledged me. After all, he yearned for nothing more than strength. Why pay heed to a weakling, such as myself? So I vowed to become stronger. I would soar so high, he'd have to see me. I dedicated myself to training, begrudging even a single moment of respite. The blade was everything to me. And eventually, there was no disciple at the dojo who could come close to rivaling my skill. That was around when he vanished. In the blink of an eye, he was out of my life. He spoke not another word to me, nor called me by name. I was meditating in the forest one day when a group of travelers approached me. I didn't know them, but they were the captain and the crew of the Grand Cipher, and my future. Initially, I thought they were lost and had come to ask for directions. I was only half correct. They were seeking guidance, but not out of the woods. They wanted to learn martial arts from me. I shook my head. I was no master, only a chrysalis struggling to break free of my own shell. I believed the captain was mocking me, but that wasn't the case. I looked into the captain's eyes and found truth, alongside a burning desire for strength. It felt as if I was in his presence again. I found myself drawn to the captain. That's why I decided to join the crew of the Grand Cipher on their journey across the skies. I was convinced that this was the only path that could reunite me with Zomba. One day, I encountered an adorable Harvan girl at a local market. I'd already finished my shopping, so I decided to accompany her to a nearby cafe for tea and conversation. Upon parting, I asked for her name. She proudly introduced herself as Fief, one of the 10 Eternals. I had heard that Zomba once cared for a child of the same name. A jealousy brewed within me that I hadn't felt before. Zomba had taken notice of her, yet he never once acknowledged me during our time together. My inner peace had been shattered. I retreated to the mountains and started my training anew. But the more I tried to find direction, the more I realized how lost I truly was. It was Lyria and the captain who brought me back. They appreciated me for who I was. Nothing more, nothing less. Perhaps I too could learn to love the living, breathing me, and not a ghost of the future. That thought filled me with so much contentment. I was ready to give up on chasing Zomba. But the universe works in strange ways. As soon as I was about to let go, Fief helped bring me and Zomba together again. It was then I finally put into words how I felt. I spoke about how I wanted him to acknowledge me, to call my name. He listened quietly, and for what I felt was the first time, truly saw me. But I had yet to see and love myself. As part of my quest for self-discovery, I crossed blades with Zomba. No, Eata. We fought for days. He no longer believed I was a weakling. After our battle, we visited the tea shop, and it was there that he first addressed me by name. Never had tea and cake tasted so sweet to me. Now, with nothing holding me back, I am free to soar toward ever greater heights with my beloved companions on the Grand Cipher. I had failed that day at the Hillwind Altar. I had spent years training and sharpening my skills, devoted my entire life to the pursuit of strength. But in that moment, it all amounted to nothing. Our experiences in Zega Grande had planted a seed of doubt in my mind. Over time, it grew, dense and wild as a jungle, choking me with a sense of helplessness like I'd never felt before. I wasn't able to protect Lyria or the captain. I had found my identity as a big sister, as a guardian, but now that I'd failed, who was I? I thought about resuming my training, but I couldn't afford to isolate myself like that. What if something were to happen while I was away? Then, the solution came to me. Whenever the captain was about to take on a dangerous mission, I would complete it first. That way, I could train myself and protect the crew in one fell swoop. I was too blind to see that despair had clipped my wings and chained me once again to the past. Are there any particularly dangerous missions available? Sierra Carte, with her usual cheery disposition, set a list of options before me.
Sure are. We've got a few jobs here that only a crew of your caliber could handle. In fact...
She paused and looked at me with a quizzical expression.
You know, I can't even remember the last time I saw you here by your lonesome. Don't you usually do things as a crew?
I told her I intended to undertake these missions alone, as part of my training.
I gotcha. The grind never ends for you, huh? Just don't push yourself too hard, you hear?
I nodded, only half acknowledging Sierra's words. After deciding upon a venture, I chartered a small carrier vessel which would take me to a nearby island. As the ship was tossed about the turbulent winds, I closed my eyes and looked for peace within. This is for their sake, as well as mine. According to Zero, the threat should be somewhere around here. Life is a dance. I sense great evil. Just a little farther. Shall we test which is stronger? Your shield or my blade? Come what may. Such malice. You cannot be allowed to live. Once more. Crescent moon. Wind in the fields, no one's throat. Dawn rain on the hill. Again. They've gone mad. Once more. Free flutters. Foam on the sea. The tide rises. Swift is thought. It must be done. I can see how this battle will end. It ends with your death. The final. Your anger is no match for mine. Rain, once more. Watch out for their next attack. Night falls. Spread your power, my friend. Like the dog. Again. Free flutter stand. Wind in the fields. Again. Come on. life is... Again. Fly. Once more. One stroke. 1,000 deaths. You bring nothing to the sky but suffering. Perish! Crescent moon. Rain on the hill. Pass away. Breathe flutter stance. Right away. Worthless. But it's not over yet. I will not rest while evil runs free. Dawnfly stance. Do you not have anything more dangerous? I made quick work of the mission and returned at once to Sierra. She seemed taken aback when I demanded more work, but I was determined. If someone had to risk their life, better me than the captain. The crew didn't have to know. They would be kept free from worry and danger, while I grew stronger. I was so absorbed in my thoughts, I'd failed to notice how Sierra's eyes grew ever more clouded with worry.
Need something?
I continued to take one treacherous job after another. If you want someone safe, then keep them from entering the tiger's den. It's as simple as that.
Are you really sure you're up for another wonder, Maya?
Sierra worried for me, but there was no turning back now. My labor had bore fruit. The rest of the crew was beginning to look healthier, better rested. They returned earlier from missions, bearing fewer injuries. I appreciate the concern, Sierra, but the path to strength is long and narrow, and I must continue down this path, for all of their sakes. I was fixated on protecting my loved ones. They were all I could see. If they were safe, then nothing else mattered. That thought alone was enough to steel my resolution.